Okay, so today we're going to do a quick get up and running with the final project website by starting from scratch with GitHub, setting up some basic pages, and then linking those pages, maybe doing some basic CSS just to kind of get things coherent. Yeah, let's do it. So let's see, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, cool. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is make a new repository for this project. So I'm going to open up GitHub Desktop. And again, this is totally the same on Mac. And Cindy, you can stop me if you need me to wait for a second. So,
Problem.
Okay, cool. So once I've got this open, I'm going to go to File and New Repository. And you can do this from the GitHub website. I know that's how we've done it in the past, but we can also do that from here pretty easily. So I'm just going to go File, New Repository. Okay. And I'll call this final project website. You can change the name of this later, but I'll just call it that for now. I'll give it a brief description. And since this is just sort of a demo, I'm going to have this save on my desktop, but you can have this save wherever you've been saving your other web folders. Don't save it inside of your repository for the other repository we've done for this class. Like, just save it in its own thing. So I'll save mine to desktop. I'm going to hit initialize with a README and leave those both as none. Then I'll hit create repository. Okay, great. Next thing I'm going to do is click publish repository. And that's what's actually going to send it up to the cloud or to your actual GitHub account. So yeah, this is where you could rename it if you wanted, but we literally just named it. I'm going to uncheck, keep it private, and publish the repository. Okay, cool. So this is good. We should see this. There's 0 changes. Let's take a look at this repository. I'm going to click Show in Explorer, which on a Mac would be Show in Finder. And here is the README file we created. And this sort of like, unnecessary, like we don't need to do anything about this Git file thing. That just has to sit there since this is a repository. But next, what I want to do is open this up in VS Code. So let me close this. I'm going to open up VS Code. And whatever you may have had open before, doesn't matter. I'm just going to go to File, Open Folder. On a Mac, it will just say Open. File, Open Folder. I'm going to go to my desktop and Final Project Website. Click on that. Open that up. Okay, great. So we should see just a README file here. Let's create some of the initial files and folders we're going to need. So our first one is going to be docs. So we're going to hit the plus folder button here. We're going to type docs. Make sure that's all lowercase. Okay, that has to be all lowercase. And then once docs is created, you can highlight it. It should be highlighted automatically. And then I'm going to make a new file and call this index.html. And this is what's going to be our homepage. So let's just give this some basic HTML so that we can actually see something on a web page. So I'll type HT and then scroll down to the HTML5 autocomplete thing. And I'm going to hit tab, but you can also hit enter. You could click on it with your mouse, hitting tab. And then for the title, I'll just say final project homepage or home. That's fine. And then I'll give us an H1 tag. So H1 tab, and then it gives me the open closing brackets. And I'll say, okay. We have another person joining us. 2 people. Okay. Oh, sorry, one sec. There were 2 other people joining, but I don't know what happened to the other one. Hey, Lucy. So I'm gonna pause here. Lucy, are you there? Hello. Okay, so for anybody just joining, we already did the GitHub step, so we're going to go over the GitHub step again when we do this for the second identical workshop that starts in like an hour. I've posted the time yesterday in a Canvas announcement. So, but yeah, all we've done is we've created a new repository for this project. But if you need to go through those steps, I would say come back in an hour. But you can follow along at this point because we've, if you feel like you could use the redundancy. So we created this docs folder index. Now I'm going to go back to GitHub pages, or sorry, GitHub desktop, and we'll see that these changes have been made. And I'm just going to say add homepage, commit to master, and then I'll push that to the origin. Okay, so now the repository is real and it has some content inside of it, but now we want to go and actually enable GitHub pages so we can see our website. I think before we do that, I want to go live and just make sure that I can see my web page. So if you don't see a go live button at the bottom of your screen right now, it's probably because we didn't have any files or folders when we opened up VS Code. Mine was working because I had some old code open up with VS Code. So if yours isn't there, we can do this together. I'm just going to close VS Code and reopen it. And it should reopen to what you were just working on, but if it doesn't, you can always just go to File, Open Recent, and click on the thing that you're working with. So, okay, so I'm going to go live. Okay, great. There's my home page. Cool. Make sure that's working. Great, it's working. All right, so let's now enable GitHub pages so that we can actually go to the public web page. And this GitHub pages that we're about to create, this is the link that you're going to be turning in for this assignment. So I'm going to go to github.com and I'm going to go into my repositories. Okay, and I have this new one that I made right here at the top, final project website. Click on that. Once you're looking at the home page of your repository, you can then go into settings and scroll down until you see GitHub pages. And you're going to select this none drop down. And we're going to set this to the second option, which is master branch docs folder. Okay. So again, this part won't work until you've committed and pushed your changes from GitHub desktop. So, and you have the docs folder with an index.html inside of it. So, but yeah, so now we have a web page, which if I scroll back down again to GitHub pages, we should see the URL for that page here. So again, this link here, this is what you're turning in for the final. I'm going to open this in a new tab. And there we go. It maybe takes like 30 seconds to get up and running. Sometimes it's faster, but if you don't see it right away, it should work in a bit. If you loaded it and it doesn't show your web page, you'll probably want to try again in an incognito window. So if you're on Firefox, you would say new private window. If you're on Chrome, it would be file, new incognito window. You can try it there. And it worked on both for me. But again, if it didn't work the first time, try it in a private or incognito window for the second time. Okay, so let's get back into here. So let's see. So for each of us, we all have like a slightly different sort of layout for what pages we're going to do, but I'm going to do kind of a basic like template for the pages you might have in your website. So we have our home page here, which is the index.html. Everything you make should go inside of the docs folder here. So I'm going to make a folder, and I'll call this about. And inside of this about folder, I'll create an index.html. So again, make sure if you want to create a folder inside here, you click on the folder before you hit the new file button. Okay. Once I'm in here, ht, we'll say about, and let's give it an h1. Oh, somebody in the chat. Let's see. Cool. Okay. So we have an about there. Great. So let's instead of like going and going to that URL, let's link to it in our actual web page so we can get there. So I'm going to go to my home page here, which again, I'm going to be naming all of the files, or many of them, index.html, which can start to get a little confusing if you see a bunch of index.htmls over there. But just know that up at the top, the tab will tell you which folder the index is inside of. So I know this is my home page because it's in the docs folder. All right, so home. So let's link to this about page. So I'm going to make an A tag, A, and because I'm trying to link to the index inside of my about folder, I just need to type in the name of the folder, about, and then here I'll say about. Okay, and if I click on about, it takes me to my about page. Okay, I'm going to make this home thing here a link as well, so that every time you click the home page or the home thing, which we might put, like, let's say instead of home, this is like Doug's portfolio website. And if we wanted to make that a link, I would say A. So A href. And since we're already on the home page, we don't want to go anywhere. So I'm just going to put a period in the quotes. And that's just saying when I click on Doug's portfolio website, it's just going to keep me where I am. I'm going to make sure I surround my entire header tag with the link here. So I can click on this and it'll take me there. Let's create 2 more pages. So maybe we have an about there. Maybe we have like a page for our, let's see, like videos or something. I don't know. And I'll say videos. And maybe we have a page for our, I don't know, paintings. I don't paint, but maybe I do for this website. Okay, so we've got some links for these. So, but if we click on these, none of these pages exist yet. So let's make those real quick. So kind of for each page, I would create a folder for that page. So for this videos page, I'm going to make a folder, call it videos. And then inside of there, I'll create an index.html. And this menu that we just made on our homepage, like I might want to have this on every single page that I work with. So I'm actually just going to take this whole thing here, copy it, and put it inside videos. But first I need to do my fill in, videos, and then I'll paste this in here. Oops. Okay. Cool. So let's see here, but I'm going to go back. So we're on my home page right now. So now if I actually click on this videos link, it does take me to my videos page, which you can see right here, but there's not much else indicating that. So maybe for each page, let's identify the page that we're on. So in this videos page, I'm just going to say H2 videos. Okay. So now if I go to videos, oops, well, we're going to fix that in a sec. Oh, sorry, I'm on my home page right now. I don't want that there. I want that in my videos page. I think I'm going to do that below the site title. Okay. So we've got the link, we've got videos on my home page. I could have home if I wanted. On about, which about, we should also take this whole kind of structure and paste it in. So I'm back in my videos right now, and I'm just going to take all this stuff here and put it in my about section. I'll just swap this out for about. Okay, cool. So we've got an about page, a videos page, and let's do one more just for paintings. But before I do that, I kind of want to test these links out a little bit. So let's see here. So let's go back to the home page. So we're on home. So if I click about, it takes me to my about page. If I click videos, it does not take me to my videos. So the reason it's not doing that is because on my videos page, I'm telling it to try to find the about folder here, but it can't see the about folder because the about folder is not inside the same folder here. So I need to go out one to look inside of about so I can see that index. So I need to say ... and now it can see that. So if we're on the, let's go back to the videos page, which also, the other thing, sorry, I know this is probably looking kind of confusing jumping between all these pages, but they'll all be sort of set up and then we don't have to deal too much with that stuff anymore. So I'm currently editing the videos page, so I'm going to just go there right now. Okay. And in here, like I have videos, I can get to my about page. I'm going to make this a single dot for my videos link because I don't want to go to a different page. Paintings, let's create that over here real quick. So inside of docs, create a folder, call it paintings. Inside of here, create an index.html. And we'll say ht, and we'll call this paintings. And we'll take all this same stuff from videos and paste it in the body. We'll change this to say paintings, about, videos, paintings. And since we're not going to want to go anywhere else once we're on the paintings page, or not, like that link shouldn't take us anywhere, we're going to put a single dot, and this should be ... videos. And then to get to our home page, we got to say 2 dots. We just have to go back 1 to get to this index.html. So ... for there. I'll go back to videos, ... for videos. Okay, and then let's go into our about page as well. ... about. Okay, so let's see how we're doing. I haven't set up every single link yet, but we're almost there. So I'm on my home page. If I click about, it takes me to my about. If I click videos, all right, so none of the links on my about page are working yet. So let's just do that real quick. So if I'm on my about page, I don't want to go anywhere else when I click on that link. So I'll make that a single dot. I need to go back out one, so dot dot slash, and then I can go to videos. Same with paintings. So, okay, cool. So let's check. Paintings is looking good. Videos is good. Okay. We do need to say dot dot slash to get into paintings. Hey, Haley.
Hey.
So we've already done the set up the GitHub repository and like kind of gone through and created like the folder structure again already. I'm going to be doing this again in like an hour from the beginning, but so if you need help like setting up your files and
I already
folders.
got like the basic like setup, so.
Okay, perfect. So since we're almost done with this, we will be getting into some CSS stuff. So cool. Okay. Yeah, I think all of my links are finally working. So cool. Moving on. Okay. So, you know, when you're thinking about structuring your page, make a folder sort of for each page. I mean, you could, if you wanted, instead of doing a folder for about and then having an index.html on the inside, you could just have an about.html if you wanted. I'll just put some gibberish there. And, you know, if we had to link to it this way, I'm going to go, let's call this something meaningful, about page or about.html. Okay. So I'm going to go to my home page, and if I wanted to link to this page from my home page, I would have to say like a href equals about.html. Like I actually have to put the .html in there since I didn't call it index. So sure. So now if I go there, now I can get there. So anything you name other than index.html, you actually have to put the .html inside of the href. All right. I'm going to delete that. All right. So let's do some basic CSS setting up a website to be somewhat responsive. Like whether you're doing a portfolio or a sort of like educational or fan site kind of thing, I feel like this will be helpful. So I'm going to close off these other pages. Kind of just want to deal with the home page for right now. Okay. So first off, let's create a CSS folder inside of docs. Okay. And then inside of there, I'll create a file called style.css. And then from there, let's start with just some really basic styling. So I'm going to start with the wildcard asterisk character so I can affect everything all at once. And I'm just going to say margin 0, padding 0. Before I add anything else, I'm going to go back into my home page and link to this here. So I'm going to say in my head section, link rel equals style sheet, href, css, style.css. Okay. So from there, we can now see that everything's gotten all scrunched up all of a sudden. So, you know, you don't have to do this margin 0, padding 0, but it does take away the default margin and padding that's there. So I'm going to now, you know, go down and actually start to style this. So let's say body, font family, Arial. Cool. Okay. I think what I'd like to do is do a little bit of flex, like make a menu that's sort of responsive, center some things, add some just better spacing to this. So I'm going to start by, I guess, kind of mostly working in my HTML for now, because we kind of want to create the structure in HTML first and then start to go back and style it later. So we'll open this to the side and let's get into it. So, okay. So we have like a few things here. We've got the site title, we've got the page title, and then we've got this menu. So for your own page, you might not always want to have the site title. You might only want that on the home page. But let's build it out where I do have the site title and the page title on each page, as well as a menu. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to make a header. And I'm going to be kind of like tweaking this stuff. So I'm just going to one by one sort of transplant things from down below into my header section here. So, all right, let's think. What are the things that I have in my header? I've got a site title. So I'm going to say H1, but I'm going to give it a class. I'm going to say H1 class equals site title. You know, so not all H1s are going to necessarily have the properties of a site title. And then in here, I'll say Doug's portfolio website. Okay. So actually, I can take everything that I just kind of put in here. I'm going to just put this up here. So it's back to that, but I'm going to make sure I put H1. You know what? I'll do this for my A. I'll say A class equals site title. Because A's site title is always going to be a link. I like this to be a link, so I can click on this and it will take me back to the home page. Okay. Also, for those who just joined, feel free to stop me at any time if you have questions about anything. And I am recording this, so you can refer back to this later. All right, so we've got a site title class here that we're going to come in and style later. In addition to that, we also have a site subtitle. So I'll say like H2 class equals site subtitle. And that's what I have, or maybe actually not site subtitle, but page title. You could have a site subtitle in addition to, like, you know, I could say H2 the coolest site. And like this could be like, you know, the subtitle, but I'm not going to have that. So H2 class equals page title. In this case, it's our home. Okay, so I can delete the one from down there. Okay, next we have a menu. So in our header, we have like these two things, but then we also have a menu. So I'm going to say nav, nav class equals, and I'll call this main menu. Okay. Cool. So then in between these opening and closing nav tags, I can take all of these A's and just paste them in. So that doesn't change the way they look yet because we haven't really dealt with CSS. And nav, it doesn't really do anything. You know, it's kind of just like a div, but it's more semantically meaningful as a thing to be a menu. So I could just make these divs, div class equals main menu, close the div tag, and it would look exactly the same, but for people using screen readers, nav is more easily identifiable as a menu. All right. So now that I have this sort of basic structure for my header set up, I'm also going to now create like sort of like a main content area where I could say, okay, div, instead of div, we're actually going to do main, which is, again, similar concept. Main and div are kind of doing the same thing visually, but main is more meaningful. Is like, this is the main content. So I'll say main class equals, I'll call this main content. Okay. All right. So inside of here, maybe we'll have like some images and some text. So let's like grab an image and we'll make this sort of a placeholder image, placeholder, and then maybe a paragraph. This is an image. Neat. Okay, again, all this stuff is just showing up here. This does not look super great yet. So this placeholder text, because I don't actually have an image that it can display, it shows the alt text in its place. So we're seeing placeholder here. Let's go and grab an image that I can put in here. So I'm going to open up my sidebar. Inside of docs, I'm going to create a folder called assets. And then inside of assets, I'm going to make a folder called images. Okay. And then I'm going to go find an image I want to use. So my classic fish. So many pretty fish out there. I think this one's pretty nice. So we're going to go with this fish. So whether you're in Google or DuckDuckGo, or once you found your image, you're going to right click. Well, there are two ways that you can bring an image into your web page. You can download it and put it into this images folder, or you can just use the absolute path to it on the web. So I could say right click, copy image location, and then I'll come in here and throw this inside the image source here, which brings it in like that, but I'd rather download the images because just in case this picture gets removed from this web page, I don't have to, or it gets removed from here, I don't have to worry about this link being broken. So I'm going to right click, save image as. I'll just call this fish1. And I'm going to save it inside of this images folder I just created. You can always save it to your desktop and drag it in if you want, but this saves me the trouble. So now it just popped up over here. Cool. Now let me close that. Okay. And now instead of putting this link here, I can just say, so I have to link to it. I have to do the correct file path here. So if I'm currently in my index and I'm trying to get to assets, since index and assets are at the same level, I'm going to say assets / images / fish1.jpg. Okay. Sorry, somebody just joined the waiting room that I didn't recognize the name. That's why we have waiting rooms. So, okay. So we got this fish in here. It's not looking super great yet right here, but it's an image. So then we've got our text down here. All right, cool. So I think maybe now we can finally start styling some things to make this look like an actual web page. I think maybe the last thing I'll do is just give a class to this image. I'll say image class equals, I don't know, home image. Maybe all of the images on my home page I want to kind of have the same style. So I'm going to give them this class. So anyway, all right. So let's start with this header. So again, for debugging, it's always nice to like kind of see what we're dealing with. So I'm going to give a background color to this header while I work. So background, I don't know, green. So I can see the header takes up the entire width of the page, no matter what. And that's fine. I'm fine with it doing that. I'll leave that as it is. Let's start styling the site title and things like that. So I'm going to say dot site title. Okay. And maybe I want this to be centered. Okay. So cool. So yeah, this site title is being centered inside of the header. And I don't really like the link to be underlined and purple and all that, or blue, because it's the site title. So I'm going to say text decoration, none, and then color black for now. I'm going to take away this background color I'm working with for now. Can bring it back in later. All right. So we've centered the site title. Okay. And next we've got the page title. So page title. And we'll do the same thing. Text align, center. Cool. Okay. Then we have this nav, and maybe I want to center this menu to be right below. So I'll say dot main menu. And I want to target the main menu because by targeting that, it'll center all of these at the same time instead of like having to go through each of these and telling it where to go. So main menu. So I can't say, let's see, what happens if I say text align center? I don't think this is going to work. No, that does work actually. Okay, that's nice. Oh yeah, it's because these are A's. But yeah, that's nice and easy. So we've got, yeah, a nice centered section up here. So let's give it some spacing so everything isn't just hugging the top there. Okay. Hold on one sec. Hey, Niall. So we've already set up a GitHub repo and set up files. We're doing some basic CSS. We're going to start this all from the beginning when I do the second part of this, but feel free to just sort of hang out because I'm in the CSS portion right now. So, but I will be doing this from scratch again later. So, cool. So I've got this stuff centered up here. Let's give it some spacing. So inside of my header, because again, the header contains all of this stuff. I can say maybe padding 20 pixels. It's going to give a padding of 20 pixels on all sides. Let's bring the background back so we can see that. So if I do padding, the padding is part of the element. I could also say like margin 20 pixels, and that gives 20 pixels of space around the thing, but it doesn't actually add any more green to it. So for now, I'm going to stick with maybe just padding. Okay, cool. So for this site title here, maybe I also want that to have its own padding, because like this padding that we made is padding for the entire header, but for site title, let's say padding 10 pixels. Let's give this its own background color pink. Ah, interesting. So I've given this background color to site title, but site title is actually like an A element. So because A's are inline elements, like it's only taking up as much space as like it doesn't actually have any space. Like the H1 here is taking up all this space. So I think what I'm actually going to do is also take this site title class here, and I'm also going to add this to the H1 that I'm styling. Okay, cool. So, okay, which then adds this sort of like this is the, like all of this is a link here, including this tiny little sliver of pink here. So, so I think maybe instead, I'm going to do something actually kind of different. I'm going to take away the class here and just style site title. Like just do H1 class site title and just have this link be there. But now we have this underline back. And we don't really want the underline, even though we have text decoration none. So how do we get rid of that text decoration? I mean, we have to apply it to A elements. So what I'm going to do is, let me see. There are a couple ways I could do this. One is I could just create sort of a class called like no underline if I wanted. Say text decoration none. And I can throw this no underline class over here and say class equals no underline. Okay, so now it doesn't have that underline, but it's still a link. But also this entire line is a link here. Like I maybe only want it so when I click on Doug's portfolio website, it takes me back there. I don't want to like click over here and have it still do that. So instead of wrapping the H1 inside of the A tag, I'm going to reverse that. So I'm going to make this an A. Maybe I'll do it this way. So let's start this kind of from scratch right underneath. I'll say H1 class equals site title. But then inside of there, I'll create my A tag, A class equals no underline. Okay. And then inside of there, I can say Doug's portfolio website. I'm going to delete this one up here. Actually, before I do that, like you'll see the top one, the old one, like this is all a link, but now down here, it's not a link over here until I get over the, oops. That's weird. Okay, hold on, let me delete this and see. A class, no underline. Okay, why is that not a link now? Okay. Huh. Hold on a sec, folks. Wow, every single day I think I know exactly what I'm doing. And so, wow, I guess I haven't actually put an A tag inside of an H1 in a long time. So apparently the link actually doesn't even work when I put it inside of there. So if I inspect this, it sees it as an A, but it doesn't, Oh, I know why it's not a link, because I haven't given it an href yet. Sorry. A href equals period. Now it's a link. Okay. Sorry. Don't mean to confuse you all. Also, hey, Genesis, thanks for joining. Oh, your audio's connecting. Okay. Hey, Genesis. We're sort of like deep into the CSS with this for now, so you can hang out, but I'm going to be doing this all from scratch again in like a half hour or whenever the next one starts. So we'll do this all from scratch again at some point. So, okay. So I've got the link set up inside of my header now with this no underline class. But now it's back to being that same color of just like a traditional link again, even though I've set the color to be black for site title. So instead of setting it for this, actually, I'm going to go back to kind of exactly what I had before. I've sort of gone around in a circle, but I'm going to take away class title for this H1 here. So it's just an H1. And then for my A on the inside, I'm going to put class site title. Oh, but then I have to, let's see. Okay. Center text decoration. Okay. Hold on. Okay. So I guess I do actually want to keep that there. It's because H1 is a block level element and A, like this is the fun of CSS, like the enormous amount of difference that can take place because the H1 was inside of the A tag versus the A being inside of the H1 tag. So I think what I'm going to do here is just have the site title class on both of these. That way, everything I put in here is definitely applying to both things. So, okay. Nice. All right, let's keep going a little bit. So for page title, let's give this a background color of aqua so we can see that, and then we can give that some padding. Okay, and then maybe for this main menu, background color orange. Okay, and let's give that some padding of, I don't know, 20 pixels. Okay, nice. So again, I'm just doing these background colors just so we can see where all these elements are. And also this fish is like too big, so let's style that real quick. So home image, because that's the name of the class I gave this. I'll say width, maybe just 300 pixels. Okay. And when I give it just a width, the height adjusts automatically. So we don't have to specify a height. Let's say you wanted only square images, like height 300 pixels, like you wanted every single image to be 300 by 300. It stretches it out if you give it dimensions that are not the same as its original orientation. So you have to say object fit, I believe it's cover. It's cover. There we go. So it does crop off the sides a bit, but it doesn't stretch it out anymore. So it's always good to kind of prepare your images ahead of time, crop them to how you want them before you put them on your page. But you can sort of do this in CSS if you'd like. If I set this to contain, it's still occupying 300 by 300 pixel space. Let's give it a background color so we can see. But now it's only going to stay at its correct dimensions and still fit inside of the box. So, but we'll keep this at cover. It'll fill up the whole space, and then we won't see the background color anymore. Okay. So for this entire page, let's see. I'm gonna make this menu up here look a little bit nicer. I mean, right now it's like, this is sort of automatically responsive. We don't have to do anything really fancy with like flex or anything to make this center and work correctly. But if you wanted, like, instead of your menu just being sort of scrunched together like that, I'm going to do just a quick little flex on this menu here. So since main menu is the thing that is containing that menu, I can go in here and say display flex. Okay, which puts them all over to the right at first, but as long as I then say, like, if I say justify content center, I'll put them all in the center again, but I could say space around. And now, I mean, like, you maybe don't even want that either, but now it's sort of like they'll always stay centered with some space around, or I could say space evenly. That puts them a little closer together. And then of course, space between. Okay. So now the menu looks like that. I'm going to keep this. Well, alternatively, if you didn't even want to do flex for this and you wanted some space to be between them, I'm going to comment this out so it's back to what it was. But I can now give them some margins. So I'll say margin, if I say margin 0, 20 pixels. Oh, sorry, that's for the main menu. I want to give this to each of the individual elements inside of here. So I'm going to say a class equals menu item. Okay. And just kind of take that, throw that on each one of these. Okay. And I'll go into here and say dot menu item margin 0, 20 pixels. Okay, and now that spaces out the menu a little bit. So by doing that, this says don't put any margin on the top or bottom of each of these individual things, but do give them 20 pixels on the left and right of margin. So this way, they'll always have 20 no matter what. But this can get you in trouble. Like if you have a lot, let's say you had like 100, it's fine like when the page is big enough, but if you scrunch your page, one of them goes down to the next line. So, just got to keep that in mind. But anyway, let's just keep this at 10. Okay. And maybe these, like I don't want these to have underlines, so I could say text, decoration, none. Cool. Maybe I'll give them a little hover effect, dot menu, item, hover. Okay, and then background color, white, color, black. So, all right. And let me give these a little padding. Okay, so now with the padding now, like when I hover over them, there's more space. So cool. Okay, last kind of thing I'll do with what we're looking at here is let's create just like a quick little image gallery or something that looks decent. So I'm going to take away these background colors. I'll just delete them actually. Okay. So now we can see like an actual sort of nicely spaced website without a bunch of annoying colors. All right, cool. So we've got that. So let's do kind of a couple of these images here. Let's say like 4 of these, maybe a 5th one. Let's do 6 actually. And instead of making them 300 pixels, let's make them a little bit smaller so we can kind of see everything on one page. So let's say 200 by 200 for each of these. All right. So real quick, we're just going to make a nice kind of like responsive gallery for this thing. So first what I'd like to do is like each one of these, like each of these I want to kind of keep as a contained unit, like image plus caption. So I'm going to make a little div. I'll say div class equals, call this like image card or something. Like an image card has a caption and an image to go with it. So, and then I will close that div tag here. Okay, I'm going to delete all these other ones I just made. All right. So now let's just style one of these and then we can add a couple of them to actually make our gallery. So for the image card, let's kind of, actually, the very first thing I want to do is say like I don't want my main content to always be pushing things up to the left side. So I'm going to set my main content to be a certain width. So let's see. I'm going to say main content width. I'm going to do two things. I'm going to say width. I'll say 80 view width. Okay, and let's throw in a background color so we can see what we're doing when we do this. So background color orange. All right. So now this whole main content area is only 80 width. I want it to be in the center. So I'm going to say margin 0 auto. So that's saying 0 margin on the top and bottom, but it's going to automatically adjust the margins on both sides. So now if I stretch it out, it'll always be 80 width, no matter what I do. Okay. But I maybe don't like this might be too wide. Like I maybe don't want my content to get that wide. So I could say max width, like 1,000 pixels or something. So if the screen is small enough, it'll be 80% the width of the screen. But as soon as I keep going, at some point, it stops getting bigger, even though my page keeps getting bigger. 1,000 is kind of small. Let's make that 1,200. Okay. So we're just going to do a couple more things to style this. So we have this image card here. So I'm going to say image card, and that's the whole thing. Maybe if I give this some padding 10 pixels, kind of spaces itself out a little bit. Let's say border 2 pixels, solid red. Wait a second. Why did the, hold on, main content, image card, image P. Okay. Sorry, I'm a little confused why this border just got attached to the entire thing. Hold on. Oh, right, because the image card is as big as the entire thing here. Like we haven't told, like we've told the image to be this small, but we haven't told the image to be any certain size. So I'm going to say I want the image card to be as big as just the text and the image on the inside of it. So I'm going to say width max content. Okay. So now the size of the image card is going to be as big as whatever goes inside of it. So I'm going to say p class equals caption. Let's throw in a dot caption down here. And we'll say text align center. Let's maybe give it some padding. Okay, nice. And let's give a background color to this image card. Background color purple. Okay, nice. And let's give it a margin too. Margin 10 pixels on all sides. Okay. So cool. So the margins aren't actually like pushing the top and the bottom of the thing that's containing it. So that's okay. We actually, I think for main content, want to give this some padding. Maybe 20 pixels. Okay. Cool. All right, so we've got an image card. So if I copy and paste this whole block here, and kind of like bring this down, then I've got another one and another one, as many of these as I want. But now let's make this responsive. So I'm going to go into my main content and say display flex. So now to bring them all up onto the same line, and they're going to push outside of the container. So I'm going to say flex wrap, and now they'll go on to the next line if they need to, and then I'll say justify content. I don't know, space evenly is fine. So now if I do this, they'll like dynamically kind of move around where we want them. If I don't specify the size of these things, like maybe I don't actually tell it how big I want these images to be, and I'm going to not tell it how big the image card is supposed to be. Let me see. I think, what am I missing? Object fit, maybe. Interesting. Okay, actually, never mind. I'm going to keep specifying how big I want these images to be. All right. But instead of, we could say, instead of being 200 pixels the whole time, we could always say, I want you to be like 10%, maybe 20% of the width and 20% of the height, or 20 view width. So here, if I make the page go wider, they'll get bigger. So cool. Okay. So yeah, that's like, kind of a lot of stuff that we looked at here in this short period of time. Lots of different ways to position and space things. Let's see, does anybody have any questions about any of the things I just did? I know it was a lot, but yeah, I'm happy to go over any of these things. Okay. So let me just wrap up here a little bit. I kind of like these images staying the same size no matter what. So instead of saying 20 view width, I'm just going to set them back to being 200 pixels and 200 pixels. Okay. Nice. And maybe let's give a color to these. All right. And finally, I'm going to go into my GitHub desktop. Now I've got all these changes and all these files here. And I'm going to say, add lots of things, commit to master, push. So if I check the web page in 30 seconds or so, it'll actually look like that. But of course, we've only been styling the home page. So let's see what happens if we go to about. Of course, it still looks like that because we haven't linked anything yet. So let's link our CSS to these other pages. So if I wanted to link the CSS in my about page, I'm going to open my about page over here. And inside of my head section, I'm going to say link, press tab. And then here, I can't just say style, or sorry, I can't just say CSS style.css because this folder, like about, can't see this folder yet. I have to go out one, so // and now I can see it. Okay, great. So now, this stuff looks like it is inheriting the CSS, but because all this stuff here doesn't look like it's not how we set it up in the home page, we kind of want to go back into our home page and maybe take just this entire header section, copy that, bring it in here, and paste that. Nice. So you know, all of the stuff that we kind of did before where we were changing the names of things, now we kind of have to do that again, but it's not too bad since we don't have too much content here. So all I want to change here is have this say about for the page title. And then for each of these links, I'm going to say, so we're on the about page. This should just be a single dot. To get to videos, we need to say dot dot slash videos. And to get to paintings, dot dot slash paintings. So about takes me there. Oh, and the home page should take me back, or like clicking on Doug's portfolio website takes me back to the home page, about, videos, paintings. So we still have to do the same process for these other two, but let's just do that real quick, and then I think we'll be done with like this workshop. Okay. So let's take this whole header section, copy that, and let's see. Next, let's maybe do our paintings page. We're going to bring that in here. Okay. Same thing. We're going to say link dot dot slash CSS style.css. Since we just took this from the about page, like our menu is actually sort of more already where it's supposed to be. Like we already have the dot dot slash videos and dot dot slash paintings, but because we're on the paintings page now, we just have to kind of swap this a bit. So to get to the about page, we'll say dot dot slash about. And to get to paintings, we just need a single dot. And then the two dots to get back to the home page is already there. We just need to change this to say paintings. Okay. So cool. About, paintings. Video is the only one we need to do this to. Last one. Oops. Okay. Nice. So let's, in an effort to not stay sort of chaotic in VS Code, I'll close off these tabs. I'll keep my homepage one open though. And let's open up the index.html inside of the videos folder. And then in here, we're going to just say dot dot slash about. We need to take everything from, for example, our about page. So this whole header, copy that and bring that into videos, delete all of this, and just paste that in. And now everything is good, except this now needs to say dot dot slash about. And then videos can just be a single dot. Okay, great. Oh, and we also need to link our CSS. Okay, great. So now each page is, oh, we also need to change the page title. Video, paintings, about, and then that takes us to the home page. We could put a home link here if we wanted, but the site title is doing enough of that for us. So, all right, now I've made some more changes. I'm going to say link CSS to other pages, commit to master, push origin. And now, so let's see these changes. So I'm going to click here, final project home. Nice, the home page is there, but if I click videos, it hasn't updated yet since I just pushed my changes. So we'll have to wait a little bit. But again, if you wait a minute and it still looks like this, I recommend taking your link and opening it up in an incognito window in Chrome or a private window so you can then like see the updated version once it's there. So it's still not there. It's going to take a little bit of time, but let's see. Yep. If you do a lot of pushes in a short amount of time, sometimes GitHub needs to catch up. So it's like the first one I did after an hour was probably pretty quick, but the second one, since I did it pretty soon after the other one, it's going to take a little bit more time. So let's try this again. New private window, paste that in. There we go. Now it's working. Okay. So that's, sort of just some fundamentals for creating your pages, linking them together, and doing some sort of fundamental CSS to put things on your pages. I mean, the main thing I'd say, as you're thinking about how to transfer these concepts to your own page is, here again, I know this does look like a lot, but I hope that it kind of made sense sequentially how we built it up. But it's all about thinking in terms of groups and categories. Like instead of, just sort of having like an image and a paragraph tag that I kept creating loosely, I created a specific div thing to hold on to that. So if you have something that you do 10 times that like involves a couple of different things, you should throw it inside of another div and like give it a category or something. So cool. All right, I'm gonna stop the recording here.